Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are learning something super exciting, something super amazing. My very amazing strawberry cake recipe. You know, as always, before I decide to release any recipe, I always think it through. So I've decided to let this go as well. This recipe is actually very different, is very special, has a lot of rich ingredients in it, and it's actually a premium option of the cake flavor. Okay, so for me to release this, guys, I must really love you guys. So yeah, I would give you a quick cap of everything that is here. As always, I already have the bulk of my ingredients already measured out to save up some time and to ensure that the video doesn't take unnecessary time. So of course, I have here the secret ingredients to make my strawberry cake different. I have my strawberry liqueur here. You can do, there is the homemade version, but if you can't do that, you can always buy a good brand at any supermarket or any stores out there. See the color, it comes already in the strawberry color. I already have my strawberry puree here. This is store-bought, okay, but you can always make the homemade variant too. There are always homemade variants for these things, but this is actually a very good one here too. See how red it is and how so thick it is, okay? So I have my strawberry buttermilk. Yes, you heard that right. Strawberry buttermilk, it's here already. That's the composition of the evaporated milk, the 3 grams evaporated milk that I have here. This is what I use all the time. That's the 1 cup evaporated milk with the 1 tablespoon of white vinegar with an additional 1 tablespoon of this strawberry liqueur right into it. That's just because I want the flavor of the strawberry to start getting infused from all of the liquid ingredients I will be using. So the measurement, and of course I have my strawberry flavor, I have my vanilla flavor, I have my heavy cream already whipped out. This is the brand I use every time. All I do is just make sure my bowl and my whisk is chilled, and then I whip up on high speed till it's stiff. I don't need to add any additional ingredients, no additional additives, just whip stiff because it has a very high fat content. And what else? The baking powder, the salt, the vegetable oil, 2 eggs already broken into the glass bowl here to avoid having any shells right into my batter. And then I think that's about it. And then of course I have my food color here. This is red food color. I'm just going to be putting 1 drop of this into the batter just to give the color a little pop. It's not going to turn out red, it's going to turn out pink. You know how just a little bit of red gives pink, so that's it. But if you have any pink food color, not icing color, liquid food color like this, you can always use that as a substitute. But this is the red I use for my red velvet, but then I can always use it for the strawberry cake as well. So yeah, I have my pan here already lined with the parchment. I just try to do this for a change so that you guys can see the result. It's either, like I always say for all of my baking classes, it's either you oil your pan and dust off with flour. Okay, that's faster and more economical. Or you just, butter the pan, line it with parchment, and then butter it again so that there will be a good friction, and it gives you about the same result. But the only thing is that for it being a parchment paper, you are sure that you have no single dry parts on your cake. I have my flour already pre-measured into the bowl here. So all I'm going to do, as always, is just to add the additional ingredients and sieve them in with my sieve. And then this is the sugar here, and I think that's about it for the recipe. So now I'll go ahead to just read out the recipe measurements out to you guys and then explain where applicable. So first of all, we're going to be using 2 cups of all-purpose flour, as seen here already. 1 tablespoon of baking powder. I'm going to be adding that as the time goes on. 1 teaspoon of salt up in the set of the cups. So once that is done, all you need to do is just to put the 1/8 quantity into the cup here and then extract 1 tablespoon from it. I hope you get that clearly. Extract 1 tablespoon from it and then put into the buttermilk. That way you are not adding more and you are not taking away too much from that overall unit of 1/8 cup. So that's what I have here already. I already did that here. This is the 1/8 cup here. So after I already measured out the 1/8 cup here, see that I only just extracted 1 tablespoon and then I added it into the buttermilk. So that made this one strawberry buttermilk. So the remaining part of it is going to go directly into the butter. Note that I'm using this reduced quantity because this strawberry liquor has a bit of a high content. It's not too high. It's about how many percent volume? About 16% volume of alcohol. So this is just the only bit of preservative that's going to go into it. Note that the fact that it's a strawberry cake already gives it better edge over a lot of other recipes, because you know strawberry cake is like a fruit-based cake. Okay, so that it already has a longer lifespan because of the presence of the strawberry component, or strawberry as the case may be. Some people even like to use some probably processed fresh strawberries off their pantry, just process it and then pour it into it. But that's actually a bit more technical to use because of the fact that there is still a lot of fluid that goes into that. All you need to do is to actually reduce the fluid inside of that. You can actually, so for instance, like if you get 1 cup of strawberry, I'm just trying to give you a substitute to this puree that I'm using here now. So if you get 1 cup filled with fresh strawberries and then you process it in your food processor, and then you end up with 1 cup of the processed fresh strawberries, it's going to be like a puree, right? So then you put it over low heat and then cook it almost about 30 minutes, all right, with a little bit of sugar. For instance, now I should think that 1 cup of that strawberry should take about 1 tablespoon of sugar, because definitely you need sugar, granulated sugar, to activate the potency of the strawberry, because you know strawberry in itself is a sour fruit. Okay, so after you cook it through, it's going to bubble and bubble and bubble. So you cook it through for about 30 to 45 minutes, and then it's going to reduce considerably. By the time you remeasure that, you're going to end up with about half cup of what you had initially as 1 cup, and then you just leave that to cool over time. You can even store it away in the refrigerator ahead of use, and then when it's time to use it, you just use it exactly how I'm going to be using this store bottle now. All right, so because of those that don't have a lot of time on their hands and do not even have the time to process or wait for all of that, you can easily get the store bottle. They're actually sold everywhere. It's not hard to reach, it's not hard to source. So I'm going to be using that today. Okay, so moving on now, I think I'm done with the recipe. I already explained. Okay, so that's what I was saying about this one. I hope you guys got the way I'm going to use this one. And if you notice from the video that this is not on the mark of the 1/8, and that's because I already took out that 1 tablespoon that I already added to the milk. See that? So now we're going to go right into it now. The process for making this is pretty much fast. I already have my oven preheated. You need to know that for every time you need to bake up a cake, however fast or however time taken it's going to be, you need to preheat your oven at least 30 minutes ahead of time, because you cannot actually put your cake in a cool oven, because it's actually going to delay the bake time. It's not going to let the baking process kickstart immediately, and then you might not really end up with an amazing result as you would love to. So right now my oven is already being preheated. The mark of the 180 degree, which is the standard mark that is common with a lot of ovens out there, either that or the mark of 4 or the 240 degrees. But for everybody I've seen written recent times the 180 degrees. So just preheat your oven to 180 degrees centigrade and let it just stay there whilst you quickly whip this up. So this is not going to take a lot of our time. Okay, what I'll do now is to add the dry ingredients, after which I'll set it aside. Okay, I already have my cream whipped, so that's not going to take our time anymore. So if you're doing this, you need to do this ahead of time, because after whipping it, if you need to wait till it comes back to room temperature, not cold, because ingredients are actually best used at their room temperature to ensure you have good results all the time. You know, the water condensation in anything cold would affect your recipe and your result. So that said, now I want to add the dry ingredients into this one now, after which we proceed to doing this thing. It's actually a mixture of the beating and then the folding technique. So basically, after I add up the sugar, I'm going to be adding the sugar, the oil, the eggs, the vanilla, the strawberry flavor, and the milk all at once, and just beat it for about 1 minute or less, just for it to bind together. After which I'm going to be turning off the mixer, and then I'll be adding the flour all at once. At this point, all at once, because this particular recipe cannot be over mixed. Alright, so one single addition of flour or dry ingredients, as the case may be, after which it will look like a little bit of a thick clump, and then by the time you add the additional liquor, the strawberry puree, alright, and then the heavy cream, it gets well aerated and looks really nice. Okay, so that's what it's going to be like. The last ingredient that goes in is going to be the heavy cream. So let's get right into it now. So I already have my 2 cups of flour here. So the next thing that's going to go into it is 1 tablespoon of baking powder. This particular recipe doesn't use the baking soda. I'm sure a lot of people might ask me why, and that is because it has a lesser quantity of vegetable oil, and any batter that has a lesser quantity of vegetable oil might necessarily be omitted with baking soda. Remember that baking soda is a strengthener, so you really don't want your cake turning out stiff or hard in the process of trying to add it into a recipe that it might not be necessary. So this is 1 tablespoon of baking powder. It goes right into it. And because it's an oil-based recipe, you are going to be needing salt, because it's not going to be a salted butter thing or unsalted butter. It's oil, so you need the salt to give it more taste. And so that's going to be 1 teaspoon of salt.